Thank you for joining me today. It's Brian Gubernick, and welcome to the No Days Off podcast, where we believe that every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. Better at business, better at health, better at relationships, and just better at life. Let's get into it. Today we're going to be discussing the concept of the wheel of life and the secret to happiness. We're going to talk around the wheel of life and the key, the secret to happiness. So let's talk about it here, okay? So I was inspired to have this conversation, to discuss this today, by a recent interview I was listening to between a favorite podcaster of mine, Ed Milet, and an interview he ran with Matthew McConaughey, one of the most interesting people on this planet, in my opinion. And Matthew talked quite a bit around the importance of counterbalancing your business and your family and your health and your wealth and friends and all of these things, and painted the picture of a wheel. Now, I want you to picture a multi-spoke wheel. In this case, let's call it 5 spokes. And each spoke is represented by an important aspect or channel in your world. So let's say spoke number 1 is your business, and spoke 2 is your family. Spoke 3 is your health. Spoke 4 is your wealth. And spoke 5, in this example, are your friends, your social. Maybe you want to add a 6th spoke in there and choose whatever you'd like, but maybe it's spiritual. I think for Matthew, he had said it was in fact spiritual. Now, these 6 spokes, 5 or 6 spokes, depending on what you chose. On these spokes, you could rate where you're performing relative to where you'd like to be. So 0, if your account is depleted, if you're not having success in that area, and maybe up to a 10 if you're really, really, really excelling. The point here, though, is if you go through each one of these spokes, each one of these areas, and you rate where you stand from 0 to 10, would your wheel, once constructed, would it actually roll? Would it roll? So if you had a 10 in business, but a 4 in family, and a 7 in health, and a 2 in wealth, if the length of the spoke was determined by that ranking, guess what? That wheel you have probably is not moving anywhere. But if you had an 8 and a 6 and a 7 and an 8 and a 6, it may not be the prettiest wheel created, but it would in fact roll. Here's the takeaway. Here's the thought. Here's where I'm going with this, and here's what I want you thinking about. How would you rate each one of these respective areas? What would your spokes look like? And would your spokes be aligned, close to aligned, or would there in fact be a spoke or 2 or 3 that would be quite a bit shorter than the others? Now, as it pertains to No Days Off, if I'm in your shoes, and I'm going to look for an area in which I'm going to focus my energy to make small improvements each and every day, you get to choose, but I would encourage you to maybe look at those areas where the spokes are shortest and ask yourself, what improvements can I make such that the spoke lengthens and my wheel can in fact roll? Now, quick mention, in the show notes today, I'm going to include a wheel of life template where you can insert your own areas and see what your wheel actually looks like. So check out the show notes. You'll see it there. You'll be able to go to a link or download it and create your own wheel. Now, on that note, the one spoke I want to talk about here briefly is the friends/social spoke. And I want to talk about that one because, well, frankly, it's probably the one I need the most work in right now. And I think many of you can relate, because we get so hyper-focused on our business and our wealth and our families, because maybe that's where we're at in our careers right now, and something gets neglected. And for me personally, it is my social circle. It is my friends. There are friends of mine that I don't speak to nearly as often as I wish I would or could. I don't spend enough time with them, and I need to make some improvements, if I'm just being transparent. Here's why I'm so focused on this right now. Many of you may have you probably heard of the Harvard study. The Harvard study on happiness. The study was started sometime in the 1930s, and researchers gathered records on 700 plus participants from all over the world and asked a bunch of detailed questions about their lives, and then followed these individuals from 1938 or whatever it was forward. And based on what they observed, the answers to the questions as well as what they observed over the decades of life that they were able to really research or watch, they were able to determine what in fact was actually making people happy. See, it wasn't exercise that was helping them lead happier lives, healthier lives, and live longer. Sure, it contributed to it, but it wasn't the driver. It wasn't diet. It wasn't career achievement. It wasn't money. Contrary to all of those things, which is what a lot of us think it would likely be, the most consistent finding that they found over 80 or 90 years of this study was that positive relationships with friends and social circle, they keep us happier, healthier, and help us live longer. Like, end of discussion. Like, that's far and away what it is. Maybe a way to look at this, I think about it in terms of social fitness. How socially fit are we? Right? What do our relationships look like? If we're being honest, what do they really look like? Are we devoting the time necessary to deepen those relationships? I'm not talking about family who we spend so much time with. I mean outside of, in our social world. Are we tending to these connections? Are they thriving relationships, or have they fallen off? See, if that's the key to happiness, if that's what this study has found, the thing that makes us happy in life and frankly lives to a longer, more successful life, relationships, well, that probably is a spoke we need to make some improvements around. I know I sure do. So the focusing question today, what relationships outside of your family, what friends or those in your social circle, what relationships have you maybe neglected? And what could you do starting today that would in fact make the slightest bit improvements in those relationships? I can tell you for me, it's going to be booking some time together with some key people. It's also going to be as simple as me sending some texts, maybe even videos, just letting certain people in my life that are important to me know that they are in fact important to me and I care about them and that I'd like to connect with them at some point. I think that little thing at least would be a launch pad for me, a jump off point to focusing more on my relationships and living a happier life as a result. That's all I have for you today. The No Days Off podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. So let's get after it.